Hello everybody, it's Brian here, and I am continuing to dig back into older threads. Now this one is not that old, it's only a couple weeks old, but I do have some others coming up that are quite ancient. Well, I'd say 4 to 5 months old, and the reason I'm doing this, of course, is because, as I've mentioned before, we moved out for a renovation, and so it wasn't easy for me to get access to records. I could come into the house, but I moved all the furniture from the main floor down to the basement, and that got piled in front of my record collection. My turntable got pushed to the back, it got covered, all the records were covered in tarps and sheets, so I was able to do videos of new finds, and occasionally I was able to move some things around and do records, but it was just, or do threads, but it was just too much. So on that note, though, I should say that just this past weekend, I finally excavated my turntable. I was finally able to play records for the first time in 5 months. So there's still messy over there, but it's coming along. So James Griffiths, a couple weeks ago, posted a thread video about 10 artists he owns on vinyl but does not own on compact disc, and I thought that's really interesting. In fact, it was the opposite of a video he did earlier with respect to artists he had on CD but not vinyl, which I've thought about a lot because obviously I think we all have compact disc albums that we'd love to have on vinyl, but I thought this was quite interesting, and it makes you wonder about why you have certain things on vinyl but not CD. Now, of course, you can probably guess approximately my age, and I bought records as a child, as a teenager, and I continued to buy records until 94, 95. Not always new records, but I lived near some used record stores. But I also started to buy CDs in the late 80s. So I bought, like, for example, The Cure, Staring at the Sea, The Smiths, Louder Than Bombs in the late 80s, 87, 88, etc. So there's a bit of overlap there, and unfortunately I did sell some records, which irritates me to this day. Now, in James's video, he showed 5 to 6 bands that would have fit for me as well. So 5 or 6 artists that I have on vinyl but don't have on compact disc. But I chose 10 other ones, and I chose these because they're bands I like. They're bands I have a significant number of records from the band, or a good proportion of their output. And let's go. I don't know what I'm going to say about these records. I haven't really written any notes or anything, but let's start with Ultravox. And this is by no means the first Ultravox record I ever heard. That would have been probably in the era of Vienna, Reap the Wild Wind, that kind of thing, with Midge Ure. In fact, at the time, I didn't even know there had been a previous singer in Ultravox, John Fox. I had no idea. That was a surprise to me when I discovered that. And I have to say that I really do appreciate the early Ultravox. There's John on the back. This is a really good record. I love the early stuff. A bit different from the Midge Ure years. You know, I would say that I guess if I was in a thrift shop or something and encountered Ultravox CDs that were cheap, I might get them. The same is true for all of these artists, perhaps. I just never have, I suppose. But Ultravox, only vinyl, and I think I'm missing a couple from them. Now, this is a band, number 2, that I really did not like when I first became exposed to them, and that is the new wavy, new romantic band Duran Duran. There they are, looking fantastic. This is their first record, which has a number of hits. For example, Is There Something I Should Know, Planet Earth, Girls on Film, which I would argue is the best video that has ever been made. But I didn't know this record when it came out in 1981, I guess. It totally passed me by. I only discovered it because of my roommate years later. In fact, the first Duran Duran song I heard was probably Hungry Like the Wolf, because that video got endless airplay. And I found that after a while I did like them, but initially I was not a fan. And so I have the first 5 or so records, and there's a big gap, and I have some of the later ones. Not my favorite band still, but it is curious to me, for a band that was so popular and a band that, you know, sold millions of records. I don't have any compact discs by them, which is a little strange, but there you go. Another band that didn't love when I first heard them. Well, actually, the first song I heard from them was probably a song I didn't mind. It was Master and Servant, but then I kind of got bored with them. I just can't get enough. I didn't like that song. But Depeche Mode, This is Black Celebration from 1986. But this is a band I appreciate more now than I did at the time. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe I like their music better as they went along. This, I think, is a pretty good record. Black Celebration's on here, Fly in the Windscreen, etc. Although there's always a track or two on every Depeche Mode record that I don't really like. A good example is Somebody. I can't stand that song. I don't know. This has a remainder punch out here. Nice original inner sleeve. This is the Canadian pressing. There we go. Sire Records. So yeah, Depeche Mode. Nothing on compact disc. The next band, I think I have every record they released except one. I think it was the one from, is it 91? I can't remember the title of it, but it's the Psychedelic Furs. A really fantastic band. Introduced to me by a friend of mine years ago. Again, this is not the first record I heard from them. It was a later one. I'm not sure which one, but Sister Europe is on here, which is a truly fantastic song. And this band recorded what I would say is one of the best tracks from the 80s. Maybe I'll do a video on best tracks from the 80s, because I think they may have released the best track of the 80s on one of their records. You'll have to wait and see what that is. Psychedelic Furs. Excellent. But not a single compact disc in my collection. This is a curious one next because well, let's just talk about the Style Council. I have every record from the Jam on vinyl, and I have some on compact disc. Now, for some reason, the Style Council I only have on vinyl. This is My Ever-Changing Moods, which I think had a different name in the UK. Here's the weird thing, maybe, is that Paul Weller has released numerous solo albums. I haven't heard any. I don't own any of them. I haven't heard any of them. I don't even think I've heard a single Paul Weller solo track, if you could believe it. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I don't remember. Anyway, this has My Ever-Changing Moods, which is a fantastic song. You're the Best Thing. That's a great song, too. Sleeve there. Yeah, it's weird to think that I have some Jam on CD, not the Style Council, and then absolutely nothing from Paul Weller. What's going on? Here's a band, and this record I didn't know about at the time. I didn't know about this band until I heard the track Love Like Blood, Killing Joke. This is their first record from 1980, which is phenomenal. Very influential record. But it wasn't until I heard Love Like Blood that I really became interested in the band. And really fantastic. Love the sound of this band. I'm only really missing a small number, and there are records from the band that are extremely difficult to find, so there's those gaps. Until they're reissued, I'll probably never have them. I bought a Killing Joke record in Buffalo, as it happens. Jaz Coleman is an interesting person. I watched that documentary, The Death and Resurrection Show, which was really wacky, really strange. Interesting. Fantastic band. Love the sound they have on this record. I think they're really good. Even the records that don't get as greater reviews, I think they're really cool. This is another band that I don't remember. I'm trying to remember the first time I heard them, and I cannot remember, but I picked this one from Pere Ubu, The Modern Dance. I think this is from 1978, and I have a huge number of Pere Ubu records. There are, again, a couple that I'm missing because they're hard to find, but I recently bought that box set that filled in some gaps, but there's a few things I'm missing. Of course, they had that big hit with Waiting for Mary, a surprise hit, but 30 Seconds Over Tokyo is probably my favorite Pere Ubu song. This one has the track Non-Alignment Pact. Yes, side one, really cool. Dave Thomas, of course, just passed away recently. But I believe there's another Pere Ubu record coming that they had already recorded, I believe. Anyway, really interesting band. This is the artist that I have the most records for in this group. And after all that, not a single compact disc. This is Gary Newman, and this is Splinter. Songs from a Broken Mind from 2013. A really fantastic sort of industrial kind of release. Double record. Love the album art here too. The inner sleeves have more of that sort of artwork. And even I find it surprising that for this number of records from this guy, I don't have anything on CD. I don't know why. You'd think I would, because there are certain things that are extremely difficult to find on vinyl, and yet I didn't pick up the compact disc. So maybe I'm just hoping for only vinyl records from Mr. Newman, but we will see. Really good record. This might be my favorite debut record of all time, possibly. Maybe. It's Real Life from Magazine. Wow, what a great record from Howard Devoto, etc. Maybe the best track on here is The Light Pours Out of Me. And just to give you some context, this is not the first. I mean, the first time I heard that song, The Light Pours Out of Me, was a cover version from Peter Murphy on his first solo record after Bauhaus broke up. So I was a little out of date on this band, but when I got this record, I was stunned at how good it is. It's really, really fantastic. This is a US pressing. Magazine. Fantastic record. I don't even know if I've ever even seen a Magazine compact disc. Who knows? And lastly, number 10, a band I've always loved. Well, not always. A band I've loved since the first time I heard them is Wire. This is the Ideal Copy, which I think was their fourth record from '87, with that fantastic track, Ambitious. Now, I am missing one of the early ones. Chair's missing, and I had a copy of A Bell as a Cup. Was really beat up. I had to get rid of it. It was unplayable. And there are a couple of later ones that I don't have, but I have a pretty solid collection from Wire, but nothing on CD. Yeah. Ahead, I think, was a big track here as well. I heard that on the radio from time to time. So, where's the opening? I don't know. That is it. 10 artists that I have only on vinyl. And I realize I have quite a few more, but a lot of them I only have like one or two records, so I stuck with things that I have more from. Anyway, as I mentioned, I'll put a link to James's channel. Feel free to jump on this thread if you are so inclined, and I will see you in the next video.